So, in our last class, we discussed many things. We discussed uh, prayers of Lord Brahma. There were many prayers in which Lord Brahma, he is again and again saying, he's basically praying from Lord Krishna. He's saying all the prayers of Lord Brahma are in Brahma Samhita. And from there, we got to know that Supreme Personality is Lord Krishna. So, in every prayer, you will see Lord Brahma is saying, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. I worship Govinda. Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Ham Bhajami. I worship the original personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna. This form has nothing whatsoever to do with material forms. Impersonalists say, oh, you say Krishna has a form. If so, how can you say that he is the supreme? The impersonal Brahman is the supreme, and the impersonal Brahman is formless. But we have information from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is the source of the impersonal Brahman. So you will see these Mayavadis, impersonalists, their philosophy is that from the impersonal Brahman, the light, Lord originates, Lord comes from that light. But the reality is that impersonal Brahman, it comes from the transcendental body of Krishna. So they preach opposite. That the impersonal Brahman, they think that it is supreme. And that's why they say that we worship, we are, we worship formless form. Not formless form, but they say that supreme is the Brahman, the transcendental light. And that's why they are Mayavadis, Nirakarvadis. But from Bhagavad Gita, we get this information that Krishna is the source of impersonal Brahman, that transcendental lights, that is the light of the transcendental body of Lord Krishna. But they preach opposite. Now here is the next shloka. Let's see. ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतस्य व्यवस्य च शाश्वत शाश्वत्यस्य च धर्मस्य सुखस्य कान्तिकस्य च. Once more. ब्रह्मणो हि प्रतिष्ठाहम् अमृतस्य व्यवस्य च शाश्वतस्य च धर्मस्य सुखस्य कान्तिकस्य च. And I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal and imperishable, eternal, the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. Bhagavad Gita 14.27. Now see, Lord Krishna is telling this thing straightforwardly that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman, which is immortal and imperishable, eternal, the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. So Krishna is telling that Krishna is the basis of that impersonal Brahman. Impersonal Brahman is not saying this. Impersonal Brahman is formless. It is not a person. So it can't quote anything. But Lord Krishna is a person, supreme personality. And he's telling this thing straightforwardly that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. Krishna certainly has form, but his form, has stated before, is Satchidanand Vigraha, eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. The attributes of his transcendental body are summarized by Lord Brahma in this way. Before moving to this prayer, let's understand one thing, that if we say that sun has came from the sunlight, then this will be foolishness. If any person will tell you that sun, the origin of sun is sunlight, then he will be called a foolish man. Origin of sunlight is the sun, but sun is not the origin of sunlight. Means sunlight comes from sun. But these people, if they are preaching like this, if their philosophy is like this, then they are saying that sun has came from the sunlight, which is not possible. But their understanding is like this, which is misunderstanding. So the attributes of his transcendental body are summarized by the Lord Brahma in this way. Ishvarah Parmah Krishna Satchidanand Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarv Karan Karanam. You might have heard this beautiful prayer. Let's try to sing this. I know one tune. Ishvarah Parma Krishna Satchidanand Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarv Karan Karanam. So Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. Ishvarah Paramah Krishna means Ish, Krishna is the Param Ishwar, Supreme Personality, Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. Satchidanand Vigraha. Eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. Brahm Samhita 5.1. Let's understand this. You will see that if we talk about this material world, if you will see any child, then his origin will be, means you will see behind that child, there will be his father. And behind his father, there will be a father again. So, like this, if we go on, so you will find that there will always be a father who is responsible for the origin of his child. But this is very important and profound thing to be understood, that there will always be a one person at last whose origin will be no one. Otherwise, you only think if this will go on, there will be father and father and father. Then if it will not stop, if this thing will not stop, so it will be like a cycle, or it will be like an never ending process. But this is not possible. There will always be a one person whose origin will be no one. Means he will be the origin of all, and that is Lord Krishna. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin. And he is the prime cause of all causes. And no one is speculating this. We are understanding this from scriptures. So it is mentioned in Brahm Samhita that Krishna is the origin of all and he has no other origin. This is very beautiful thing. People often think that only one person, it is not possible that only one person will be a creator of this whole universe. But if we think like this, then we will come to this conclusion that in the end, there will be a one person whose origin will be no one, but he will be origin of all. And that is Lord Krishna, which we are discussing here, that he is the origin of all and he has no other origin. The word Govinda means he who gives pleasure to the senses. We perceive pleasure through our senses, and therefore, Krishna, who is the reservoir of pleasure, is called Govinda. If we serve Krishna with purified uh, senses, we will begin to relish the pleasure of that supreme reservoir. Now, what does that mean? So, if whatever pleasure we are experiencing, experiencing from our senses, it is actually a fake pleasure. It is not pleasure at all. It is just we are assuming that we are experiencing some sort of pleasure, but it is not pleasure at all. One should understand this thing that our independent existence does not exist. Just like you will see, if this hand, if I am moving this hand, so it is not moving automatically. If I cut this hand and if I just put it on other side, then that hand will not move automatically, because my hand is attached with this body, it is joined with this body, so it is moving from the what to say, it is moving because it is attached with this body. Just a second. Yes. So you will see, if my hand, if it is attached with this body, then it is moving with because of the attempt of my body. It can't move automatically. So same way, we can't experience pleasure by satisfying our senses. Krishna, who is the reservoir of the pleasure, he he who gives pleasure uh, to the senses. If we will satisfy him, then only we can experience the real pleasure. Otherwise, we are just assuming that, yeah, I'm getting some sort of pleasure. But that is just assumption, false assumption. If we were actually experiencing some sort of pleasure or something, then why are we not satisfied? Why don't we feel any kind of satisfaction? Because that is not pleasure at all. Just like you will see, if we consume food, if we are hungry and if we are consuming food, so our, like, every bite we are consuming, it is nourishing our body and it is satisfying our hunger. So it is actually satisfying our hunger. That's why we are experiencing some sort of satisfaction. And after our hunger is fully satisfied, we no more crave for food, at least for that movement. Is it not? So same way, if we were really experiencing pleasure, then we might be experiencing satisfaction. But we never experience satisfaction if we try to get pleasure by satisfying our own senses. But when we satisfy senses of Lord Krishna, when we serve Krishna, then we experience real pleasure. So if we serve Krishna with purified senses, we will begin to relish the pleasure of the supreme reservoir. And that purification comes as we serve Krishna. So when we are putting our senses in service to Lord, our senses are actually getting purified. So our every day, our focus should be that we check. that if we are putting our senses in service to Lord or not. By tongue, we chant holy names of Krishna, we consume prasadam. So, okay, our tongue is serving Krishna. Our eyes, if we are gazing at the deity of Krishna or whatever, if we are reading also, then also our eyes, we have put our eyes in service of Krishna. If we are ears, if we talk about ears, if we are hearing Krishna Katha, if we are hearing Kirtan, or if we are hearing the mantra that we are chanting, then also we are putting our ears in service of Krishna. So, this way, we should check that whether we are putting our service, our senses in service to Krishna. From nose, we can smell the remnants of Krishna. We should always do this. You try this today after you offer your food, when you're taking your prasadam, consuming your prasadam. You just gaze at the prasadam. You should just do this activity. I often do this. I gaze at prasadam. Oh, it is remnant of Krishna. This is remnant of Krishna. Then you should smell it. Wow, it is remnant of Krishna. Then you consume it. You will be able to relish it more. So this way we should put our senses in service to Lord, and when we put our senses in service to Lord, our senses are getting purified and we relish the real pleasure, which is actually unexpressible. We can't express the that satisfaction which we get when we serve Krishna. So, from this, one should understand that nothing can satisfy us. Nothing can satisfy us except service of Lord. That can be anything, any material thing, but it cannot give us satisfaction. And satisfaction cannot be purchased as well. You can't purchase satisfaction. It can only get when with the service of Lord. This is a very amazing point. How can we describe God or understand His glories? It is not possible. God is unlimited. Regardless of our finite limitations, however, we can express our own feelings and say, my God, my Lord. This will be accepted. So even today, today only, Prabhuji was telling this thing that God is unlimited. He is eternal. Unlimited means which is infinite. Infinite means which is never ending. And something which is never ending, which is infinite, then it is not possible to understand anything which is infinite. So even Lord Krishna, who is unlimited, um, his opulences, they are also unlimited, infinite. So even Lord Krishna is not able to understand his own uh, infinite opulences, his own infinity. Lord Krishna himself is not able to understand his own infinity. And there is nothing wrong in that, because if we are not able to understand anyone, if he's not able to understand something which is infinite, then there is nothing wrong in that. Because infinite is something which cannot be understood, it is not possible. I don't know whether you are able to understand this or not, but this is one point which is amazing. Okay. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us to pray in this way. Ai Nand Tanuja Kinkaram. Okay, let me just set. Yes. अयि नन्द तनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पाद पंकज स्थितधूलि सदृशं विचिन्तय. O son of Maharaj Nand, I am your eternal servitor. And although I am so, somehow or other, I have fallen in the ocean of birth and death. Please, therefore, pick me up from this ocean of death and fix me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Shishtastakam 5. So when we are chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we are actually begging for His mercy that, oh Krishna, please pick me up from this ocean of death, birth and death, and fix me, and please give me shelter unto your lotus feet. We are actually begging for his mercy. So even while chanting, we can sometimes meditate on such prayers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself, and he is basically teaching us. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us how to actually serve Krishna. So we can sometimes meditate on these prayers, that when we are chanting, we are praying for from Krishna, we are begging for his mercy, that, oh Krishna, please give us shelter, give me shelter unto the lotus feet of yours, your lotus feet. This should be the standard of prayer. We should only want to be placed as one of the atoms at Krishna's lotus feet to render service unto him. Everyone is praying to God with some interest. We discussed this thing in our today's Hindi section. Bhukti Mukti. Someone is desiring for something material, amenities. Someone is desiring for whatever, liberation from this material world. And some people are desiring for some opulences, some superficial powers. But the standard of the prayer should be this, that we only want to place ourselves at the Krishna's lotus feet to render service unto him. Everyone is praying to God with some interest, but even if we pray to God, give me some money, give me some relief, a nice house, a nice wife, or nice food, that is also good. Yes, Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita saying this, that four types of people come to me. Some come for the sake of getting money, some come for any other material desire, some are uh, Gyanis, and some are Jigyasu. So these four types of people come to me. So if anyone they are coming for any material desire, then that is also good. Yet this is not to be the standard of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayer. Our only prayer should be that the Lord enable us to serve Him after birth. Our prayer should be, dear Lord, you are so great that I want to engage in your service. I have been serving all these rascals and I'm not satisfied. This one should understand that we have been serving uh, materialistic people from eternal time. We have been like assuming that this is the most important responsibility which I have to fulfill. If I will not fulfill this, then this life is of no mean. So I will have to fulfill this responsibility. This is my responsibility. But we should understand that our only responsibility is to become Krishna conscious. I once asked this question from Yashomati Mataji. She is disciple of Srila Prabhupada ji. So I asked Mataji that Mataji sometimes uh, like I just want to get free from all these responsibilities, all these household work or whatever other things which are um, apart, like which are not. Of course, whatever household activities we are doing, that we are connecting it with Krishna only. But sometimes I feel like that I just want to get free from all these external responsibilities. I just want to do my Shravan and Kirtan and uh, no other business. Sometimes we may desire like this. So I know this is not good. I texted Mataji, I asked Mataji that I know Mataji, this is not good, but how to come out of this feeling of becoming irresponsible? Then Mataji told me in simple words. See, she just wrote this single line. Our only responsibility is to become Krishna conscious. So now very important and deep thing this is. We should understand this thing. Very deep meaning. Then that if Mataji is saying that our only responsibility is to become Krishna conscious. So if we are desiring that I only want to do Shravan and Kirtan, so are we really capable to do that 24 hours? Like Shravan and Kirtan means only Shravan and Kirtan. No any other thing. No chatting, no other thought, no any other material thought, nothing. Shravan Kirtan means you will only hear about Krishna, you will only be chanting glories of Krishna with devotees, you will only be chanting holy names of Krishna. Then we will find that no, right now this is not possible for me. So I was just thinking about this thing that time that okay, I'm thinking that I want to get rid of other responsibilities. I only want to do Shravan and Kirtan. But will I really do only Shravan and Kirtan all the time? So we can get this answer that if we are thinking that I will leave my house, I will go somewhere, I'll live alone. So, I mean, I will live separately and I'll do only Shravan and Kirtan. But that time also, I will not be doing only Shravan and Kirtan because we have not reached at that level yet. If we were reached at that level, then external things would have not been disturbing us. Situations, whatever happens with us. But if we were really on that stage, then these external things might not be disturbing us. But it is disturbing us right now. So this is very amazing point which one should think. Okay, yes. Okay, this is one point. So yes, we should understand this thing that our only responsibility is to become Krishna conscious. We have been serving uh all the materialistic people. We have been fulfilling so many unnecessary responsibilities of ours from eternal time. But we have not get satisfied. Now I have come to you, my Krishna. Please engage me in your service. This is the last word in prayer. Some people complain that when they pray to God, they do not feel His presence. We should know that this is due to our incapacities, not God's. Amazing, amazing point. It is because of our incapacities. So, for that, we have to work on our devotional services, that we do our devotional services very nicely. We chant holy names of Krishna very nicely, very attentively, which is only possible through Krishna's mercy. So, these days, I've started like praying from Krishna, that Krishna, first of all, I thank Krishna. Thank you, Krishna, for waking me up early. Otherwise, possibility was there. I might be sleeping. So first of all, I thank Krishna before starting my japa. Then I do, after reciting Mangla Charan, I recite these prayers. That Krishna, thank you so much for waking me up early. Please bless me that I may be able to chant your holy names very attentively to please you. May I be able to remember this thing, that I'm chanting this for your satisfaction. And this will only be possible from your mercy only, if you will bless me. Otherwise, I will not be able to chant even a single round from my own whatever strength. It is only possible from your blessings. So please bless me that I may be able to chant my 16 rounds in morning only. I pray this because I only already shared this thing, that before, like earlier, before few weeks, I was struggling to chant my 16 rounds, because I was becoming like I was very chill. Oh, I'm able to chant my 16 rounds very nicely, it is very easy for me, etc., etc. But I was struggling. But now I just pray Krishna, that please Krishna, please bless me, I may be able to chant my 16 rounds in morning only. So we should always pray like this, because we can't chant even a single round from ourselves. We are just willing, and Krishna is giving us all these strengths. And same for other services. When we are cooking, we can always pray from Krishna, that, oh Krishna, please bless me that I may be able to cook something for you, something nice for you. If you will not allow me to serve you, then I will not be able to serve you. I'll be able to serve you by your blessings only. So, this way, what I want to tell here, then we'll stop, that we should try to be as humble as we can, because this humbleness attracts Krishna very much. And this is not something artificial. We are not pretending to be humble. We should pray from our hearts. And when we desire, if we are praying like this, then Krishna will definitely help us. Krishna will definitely bless us. This is because this is what Krishna wants, that we depend on His mercy. So this is very important, that we cannot do anything from our capacity. All right, now we will be continue our discussion in next class, if Krishna is willing. We will stop here now. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रमानंदे, हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा.